Are we there?
Oh,
Yep.
we're live. Hello,
Live.
everybody. Welcome to Jumping Instructors Live, and this is Riding Position Fixes. We're so excited to introduce our newest show with you, and we have two co-hosts for this show. The first one is Laura Kelland May.
Hi, everybody.
She's a senior Canadian hunter, jumper, equitation, and hack judge, and also a steward. Now, you have another credential too. What was that you have with the
It's a coaching certification, Stuart. So it's a competition coach specialist.
So and then we have Patty down in Nygaard, and Patty is from nearby where I am. We're about 50 minutes away from each other as a crow flies, but Patty's a senior Big R USDF hunter, jumper, and equitation judge. And they'll be our co-host for this show. And so now I'm going to turn it over to you, Laura.
Well, thank you very much. And that is Randy. Thank you so much, Randy. Randy's the founder of the Jumping Instructor pages, along with other Facebook pages. And she's going to be behind the scenes here, putting up comments and that type of thing. But I would really also like to welcome our guest today, Jay Duke. Hi, Jay. How's it going?
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. Thanks for having me on your show.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming. Now, where are you from, Jay?
I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
All right. And our guest is Jay Duke. He's a Canadian senior course designer who was named to the leading male rider at the Spruce Meadows North American tournament in 1994 and represented Canada on the Nations Cup team in both US and Canada. Thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you.
And also we have Patty. How are you doing today, Patty?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Did Randy introduce you? I forget already.
Yeah, she did, I think. Good enough anyway.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. We're good to go.
Excellent. Okay, so we have some, we're going to be evaluating rider positions today. And now if you know anybody who should be here watching, you want to share this with people who are in your circle or on your Facebook page, please feel free to share this video, ask them to watch it, share it in their pages or in your community. So are you guys ready?
We are so ready.
Okay.
We'll have a good time.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go here. I'm going to put you ready to go right into the looking at the pictures and comments.
Sure. Let's look at them and see what we got.
All right.
Because
take a look.
I know you sent them to me. However, I couldn't open them. So.
Okay. So I'm going to put it up. What's that?
So Patty's been prepping.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to put that. Can you guys see that all right on the screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Yes.
How about you, Jay?
You bet.
Okay, all Jay, right. Go. It's all you.
Okay, well, let's see. This is first of all a great expression.
Hey, I'm online, so I gotta go. I'll call you later. Keep going.
First of all,
it was a friend from Europe. I hung up on someone from Europe.
We're live, by the way.
Yes. The expression on this pony is adorable. The pony's really reading the jump. The ears are up. And I know we're not here to evaluate that, but it's certainly the first thing that grabs me from this picture is the quality of the pony. The knees are right up and square. It's absolutely adorable. But I know that's not what we're here for, even though I love that pony. Let's talk about the rider. And let's start at the top. She's looking ahead. That's very good. Like to see that. She's doing a traditional crest release. Now, there's all sorts of different releases which are correct. And certainly in the hunter ring and the equitation ring, the crest release, you can never go wrong with. She's got her elbows bent, her hand out in front of her. Ideally for myself, I prefer a little bit more of the automatic release where that hand would be approximately 3 inches lower, just following slightly towards the mouth. But again, the crest release is certainly always a correct release to show. I think her upper body is a little closed over. Again, typically what you would see in the hunter ring. And so again, I'm being a bit picky on that, but
like that, Jay, if I just go like the shoulder to the hip, is that what you're saying? Can you see me when I mark on it?
No, I do not see your mark.
Okay.
So she is slightly closed at the hip. And then, I think the reason that that's happening is it does look like her stirrup is a bit on the long side. She looks a bit straight, and this angle is difficult to tell because it is pretty head on, but it does appear that her stirrups may be a hole too long, and that's creating a little bit of straightness in the knee and creating that hip to over flex and over close. Her seat gets a little bit out of the saddle as a result of that. So my recommendation for improvement here would be just to flatten that back a little bit, hold her body a touch away from the jump, and go one hole shorter with the stirrup to keep her seat a little bit closer to the saddle. But this is an excellent picture and definitely a good example of the American forward system from both horse and rider.
I think that's a great analogy on that. When I first saw this picture, which was last week sometime, my first thought was, I love this rider. I love where she's looking. I love where she's going. For the ponies, I like this position. I think I like the little longer release and being able to close their body in the air and follow through. If it were a junior hunter or a children's hunter, I would feel more like you do, Jay, about it. But I love this look. I love where she's looking to. She looks like someone that rides well, that knows where she is. I'm guessing her stirrups are okay. But from this angle, like you said, it's hard to tell. And I see what both of you are talking about. Laura had mentioned its stirrups being a little long too. But I just love where she's going. And that just from this picture, if I had a pony to show, I would not be afraid to put this child on that pony because she looks like she knows exactly where she is. And the picture's as cute as it could be. I mean, the pony is adorable. And so I like that. So yeah, no, I think she's great. And like I said, for the pony kids, I don't mind that release at all, as they're learning to stay out of their way. And ponies most have always been great jumpers, but they're really good jumpers now. And those warm blood bunnies, they crack their backs, and those little kids, they got to hang on somewhere. So yeah, I like this one. This one would make me smile if I were judging it.
Yeah, so what I agree totally with you. Oh, it sounds like I've got a bit of a dang.
You're fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what I would say is one thing that I noticed, and it's so good because we just get a snapshot of what's happening with this rider at this moment in time. So this is really what we can see, right? Is that it looks like she's got a plan and that she's following through with her plan. It looks like she's going somewhere. And when you're judging, you really kind of pick up on that as soon as they come in the gate, whether or not the rider has the determination and the focus and whether or not they have a plan. Do you find that, Patty, when you're judging?
Yeah, I love the focus. I love the look, her look. She looks like she knows where she's going and what she's doing, and she's been told, and she gets it. And like I said, she looks like somebody just from this picture that if I had a pony to show and was in that area, I might ask this girl to ride this pony.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you see that, Jay? Can you tell as soon as a person comes in the ring that they know what they're doing?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I will preface this by saying I am not a judge. I do have extensive experience in the hunter ring as a rider and as a coach, but I have stayed away from the judging booth, so I don't want to step on any toes there. But
you're not stepping on toes.
You always want to have a plan as a rider. I do know, I had a lot of success in the hunter derbies, and one of the things many judges would comment on is that they always liked my approach into the ring and to the first jump. And it always was, it's a little bit of an art form, and you always want to have that plan there's so many horses stepping through that in gate. A judge is going to see 100, 200 rounds per day. You need to do a little something to catch their eye. So having a rider that is organized, has a plan, that is you're presenting your horse from the moment you walk in the gate to the moment you walk out.
Exactly.
And that's very key to show that sort of organization to the judge, and that's gonna catch their eye. And again, you need to stand out. Just like if you're in an under saddle class, and there's 30 in the class, you better not just be trotting on the outside. You better do something to catch that judge's eye. So
Something good in a good way.
something
Like not
Right.
kicking
That's
stuff
something in a
that-
good, yes, exactly. Well, but no,
so-
but you have a good point there. It's the exhibitor's viewpoint versus the judge's viewpoint. It's very much the same. But coming in the ring is the only time that you are completely in charge of how you look, how your horse looks, what your plan is, and you come in with a plan. And I think it's a great thing. We've talked about this on some of the other shows about when we start judging, and we're supposed to judge from the time they walk in until the time they leave. Now, sometimes when they preload and they do, it gets a little get crazed, but basically we're supposed to check all of that out. And Jay
But
coming in and
comes
getting a good
across.
gallop right to the first jump, it's perfect.
As a coach, I also emphasize that in the jumper ring, and not for judging marks, but for preparation for the rider. So we always have a plan. Are you going to come in the ring? Once you enter the gate, are you going to walk, trot, canter? Where are you going to go to? Where are you going to pick up your canter? What lead you're going to start on? You're going to have a long forward gallop to the first jump, or are you going to have a short organized approach? What is it going to be? For the moment you walk in, you've got that ring for 2 minutes. Use that time wisely.
Exactly. And this girl looks like she's done that. She
It looks like
appears
she's
from this
ready to
picture that
go.
she's on it.
Yeah.
So I
she's
love
on
that.
it.
Yeah, I
Well,
love
that's your general first impression. And I agree with you, Jay. I'd like to see your stirrups go up a hole, maybe 2, so that she has a bit more of an angle, hip, knee, ankle angle is closed a little bit more. So that
And
she's
I'm
not
and I'm a questioner of those stirrups. They're not my favorite type of stirrup. And I think it's
What do you
fine.
mean, style of stirrup?
Pardon me?
You mean the style of stirrup?
The style of stirrup. And they're not illegal, and anybody can use them, and they're fine. I just never have understood them. And I've played with them, I've ridden in them. I just don't get it. However,
But
people like them, and
what
they're
is it
very,
about them
very
you
light.
like?
I don't know exactly what the purpose is. Maybe somebody out there knows. They're extremely light, and I like a stirrup to have a little bit of weight. So that part I didn't love in the first place. But anyway, it again goes back to normal things and things that make judges question. If you don't have a purpose for it and it's just something different that somebody else is doing, double check it and make sure that there's a reason to do it. Because we really like, as a judge, we really like to be able to look at the picture and go, I get it, this is great, and not, why do you have the orange shirt on, or why do you have the weird stirrups on, or
But if this pony came in, Patty, and jumped like that, I mean, would you even notice the stirrups?
I probably wouldn't. I've just
Yeah.
noticed it because I'm staring at the picture.
Right.
So it wouldn't make me like the rider less, because it's not illegal. So it's not if it was an equitation class, it's not illegal. So it wouldn't make me right. But we're all human. So if there's things that you don't love or you do love, it's gonna weigh a little bit. Sometimes it's a first and second thing, or sometimes it's a second and third thing, or just depends on what it is. And the kids, there was a while there, for a while, everybody was wearing extremely bright colored shirts and in equitation classes, and it made us all go, why are they doing that? This is not a place to demonstrate your
Fashion sense.
fashion statements.
Okay, so what would you do, Jay, to help improve this rider? What would you like to see improve, and how would you get it done?
Oh boy, even more. Well, like I said, there isn't a lot of need for improvement there based on that position. I think, as I mentioned before, 2 things. One is, and I do see a comment here on the side saying the pony tends to be a touch quick off the ground. So based on that comment, I think if the rider, wants to hold the pony off the ground a little more with her body, and, the more she stays tall and upright on the takeoff, the slower the jump is going to be. And so that probably would explain why the crest release too. So I will take back my comment on going more automatic. I think the crest release, based on that comment of the pony being a little quick, would be correct. But I would want her to stay slower with her shoulder on the takeoff to help to slow the arc of the pony down.
Yeah, I
Yes.
agree.
So that comment was that the pony's quick off the ground.
The comment is he tends to rush a bit. He is green, and so which normal for ponies, that, and he snaps his knees and he's probably got a little bit of blood to him. So he's a great jumper, and those ponies need to learn to take their time. So as a rider, you want to really
Slow yourself down. Yeah.
And there goes with Laura, with you, and both of you felt like her upper body was a little too closed. And if she could open her upper body and just hold it back to get him to come back to her in the air a little bit, that would work also. It all goes together.
I was wondering if maybe the pony's going faster because she's getting ahead of it and he's trying to speed up to her. It's hard to tell just from one picture.
It's hard to tell from one picture. But the trainer, I'm assuming it was the trainer, said that that he was a little tough and she did a great job with him. So yeah, and if he's a little quicker, if she kept her leg in a good place and the little longer release was good, and so yeah, I liked it. Pretty cute.
Pretty cute is right.
Pretty cute.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
So I'm just going to get something else here now. So how would these simple changes, riders' simple position changes, bring more success in the show ring? So we just kind of touched on one of those, is if that particular rider, one of the simple things that she could do would be to keep her body still, let's say, and not too far ahead, that simple correction would maybe help.
Just open her hip angle a little bit. I think if she opened her hip angle a little bit, it would get her off the neck. But again, we're looking at a picture, and so he was quick and she's trying to stay with him. So I think she's doing actually quite a good job of doing that. It's all a balance thing. It's like we talk about exercises and what people can do now. And so many people have the exercise balls at home. And you sit on those exercise balls and lift your feet off the ground and try to sit up in your riding position and not fall off. It'll help you in the long run.
Yeah.
And make your core straight and strong, and I think it's a good thing. And I like the rider's turnout was very pretty. Her boots were clean, her jodhpurs fit, her coat fit, all of that. So I like that a lot. Jay, what do you think? Exercises to be strong?
As a coach, my approach is always about working on the rider's position to create effectiveness. And so, if I want the horse's frame to change, or balance to change, or impulsion to change, or suppleness, or whatever it is, it's always working on the rider's body to make that happen. And so for me, I love this subject because I like that accountability for the rider. And I always approach my riding that way too. I'd have some horse would ride in a 3-point position, some in a half seat, some in a 2-point, some with a loose forward rein, some in a very collected frame. You want to adjust your position to get the most out of each and every horse, and you're certainly not going to ride every horse exactly the same, even position wise. I can think of as a kid, I was very lucky to grow up with many wonderful riders at my mother's farm, and every time I could hear my mom say, correct somebody, say put their heels down, whatever, then I would always do that myself. And then as an adult, basically what I would do is, as I was riding, I would just go through my body and checking every angle, and then I'd go through that checklist and I'd just start again. So I would do that 100 times every single ride, just checking my angles to try to make sure they were as correct as possible to help those horses. So
when you're saying your angles, what's one angle that in this particular rider that you would like to see or that she could improve on, let's say?
Well, in this case, as we talked about, the hip angle is slightly closed. I think, that's being pretty critical, looking for something to critique, because it is a good position. But yeah, I would like to see the hip angle slightly more open there. you know, the angles on the body that are important. You have the hip, you have the elbow, that's the biggest one. The wrist angle, the knee angle, the angle of the neck, and then the angle of the heel. I think I've got all of them there. And
Pretty
that's
close.
those are, you know, I, as a coach, I'm constantly looking to help riders improve those angles to become effective. So the answer to the question that you had said earlier, as far as how does rider position, you know, help in the ring, it's pretty much everything. So you know, I spend all my time working on the riders, not the horses. I find that what happens is people train horses all the time and not themselves, and they end up with nicely trained horses that they can't ride. So I spend all my time training the riders, and then the exercises we do train the horses, and then you have a great team in the end. That's how I tend to approach it.
I think I think that's exactly the way to do it. I love that. And I think that so many times in the very beginning, there used to be a time when posting until all the way through until whenever. And now we have so many people who like are a beginner rider lesson, and you have a big program, and I had a big program in Florida, and I had 3 riding lesson people that taught the first people that came on, and then I got to kind of cull through it and figure out which ones I liked. So that was kind of fun. But I think that sometimes those beginner riding, the startup riding people, I hate to say beginner riding people, the startup riding people, I believe, need to really take the time to get those angles right and to get them started correctly, and take the time to do it. It's hard to do. The kids want to go do more. They want to start to jump. They want to start doing so. It's puts all the emphasis on the instructor to keep the kids active and busy as they're teaching them new things, so that they, when the time comes and they actually go to jump a jump, or they actually go to jump a bigger jump, they're going to be able to put their body where they need to put it. And so many times people they push through. We talked about that a little bit with Robert, with the starting young horses. You know, you got to keep everybody active and happy and move up when they're ready, and not before.
Yeah, it sounds good.
So Laura, I seem to be the only person on the page.
Yeah,
just
so
so
we
you
can
know.
change that.
Okay, well, just so you know.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
We're on it. I think that's just because you were talking, so you got the thing. So, okay, 10 minutes.
Yeah. So go ahead. No.
I was gonna say, you ready for the next picture?
Yeah.
All right. So let's do this. I'm going to do a screen share. Share the screen. Share the screen. And I'm going to share my paint thing. Photos. Share.
We can do it. Look. There you go.
How does that look? Does it look all right?
Yep, it's perfect up there.
There.
So, is this from the same barn?
Yeah. I think it might even be the same person.
No, the other one's in Jodfors.
I don't think so.
This one's in. It's not. I don't think it's the same kid. But Jay, go for it.
Well, another cute pony. This one doesn't quite have the same expression over the jump, but certainly jerks its knees excellent. So that's very great to see. When we come back with the picture.
There we go. Okay, just a second now. I pressed a button I shouldn't have.
It's okay, because we're all good. Oh, there she is.
So we do have a few similarities with this rider as the last one. Again, the eye is up and looking ahead. I think in this case, looking ahead a little bit too much, unless she's going into a turn. I do find that when riders look to the side too much, they tend to lose control of the upper body, which is what is happening here somewhat. And so unless she's going into a turn, which I assume she's not because there's no right opening rein there, even though she's looking to the right. I'd prefer her eye to be more straight ahead, more through the pony's ears. Then that's going to explain why the upper body is collapsing. It's very difficult to hold the upper body as it is, never mind when you turn your head and turn your eye. We have here again another crest release. The elbow's in a good position. The crest release is a very well executed medium crest release, so I like that. Again, I'm as a personal preference for the automatic release, but no fault there.
Could you just explain to people, maybe they don't know, maybe they do know, the difference between the crest release and the automatic release?
You bet. So we have essentially there's three releases. There's crest release, automatic release, and following release. So we'll go from top to bottom. The crest release is right on the top of the crest in the neck, where you see this rider and the last rider doing it from. The following release is the lowest one, and that's the one that really where the hand drops down. You're going to get a good 6 inches to 1 foot below the crest towards the horse's mouth. It provides the most amount of freedom for a horse in the air, but also the least amount of balance for a horse in the air. And definitely that was something you saw more in the 60s and 70s from riders such as Rodney Jenkins and Michael Matz, who were masters of the sport, the following release. Today you see the automatic release amongst pretty much every top rider out there. And that's where it's in between the crest and the following. And you're basically the top of your thumb is about at the bottom of the mane. And so you're catching the perfect amount of balance and freedom for the horse. And so if you watch, say, Easy Madden or Ken Farrington or riders like that, in fact, if you watch pretty much any Grand Prix rider, you will see the automatic release being deployed.
Okay, can I just have a picture here of that huge jump, Jay. I'm just going to put it up. That's your.
Yeah, so that's the following release.
And when they jump a great big jump, that's the release to use because they're jumping up so high.
For the width
and the width of the jump, it helps the horse in that.
Yeah,
and
100%. So that's the older school following release. It's a little bit automatic. It's a little high for a following, but it is following release, and it's was a very classical style from the 1970s.
Exactly.
Over a huge jump.
Oh, okay. So back to this rider. I do want to talk about her lower leg. So you want to have the front of the leg should be at the back of the girth, and here we can see the lower leg is slipped back quite a bit.
That's a good one.
Space between the leg and the girth, and the toe is turned out significantly too far. So she has her heels down, but it's a pinching leg. She's pinching through the knee, and there's very little contact in the lower leg there. So the stirrup bar, as opposed to the last rider, the stirrup bar should be a lot more parallel to the ground. Here we can see the severe angle on the stirrup bar, and she's really opening up. It's approximately, for your foot angle, 40 degrees. So assuming if your toe is straight ahead, that's 0, and if your toe is straight to the middle of the arena, that's 90. 45 degrees is the correct angle for the American forward system for the foot to be in the stirrup. So here we're seeing it's pushed too far to the outside, and we're catching a pinch, and that's the other reason then the rider's body is losing control in the air here, because that lower leg is not holding it. Now, of course, we're also looking at a very young rider here, and with time and a little bit of gymnastic work, I would say, I'm sure she have an excellent position.
So you said gymnastic work?
Yes, for position, gymnastics is the best because you take away the distances. So they're not focusing on their eye, just focusing on their position. That's how I tend to spend a lot of time Obviously the flat work, but with jumping, gymnastics are by far the best for position work.
Learning the balance, because you don't have to worry about anything else but staying in the middle of your horse in the gymnastics. Once you get in, you just ride it through. So this photograph, wherever it went to.
I'll put it up again.
Okay.
Only thing, it just covers you.
It's okay. Nobody cares about me anyway.
Oh, that's not true.
So I'm going to go from the foot up. So yes, I agree with everything you said, Jay. I never talk too much about the foot angle because I talk about riding on the front of your calf instead of the back of your calf. And this girl's riding on the back of her calf, and then it's making her pinch her knee. So if she would ride a little more towards the front of her calf, of her shin, and hug her horse a little bit with her stirrup iron, it would put her pretty much where Jay wants to put her. And I agree with that 100%. And then it would, I think, automatically fix the upper body. And this pony may have left long and she was trying to catch up. I don't know. I think her upper body is much more closed. Her hips way up high and her upper body is more closed on the neck than the previous rider. And which then puts her elbow, I love the bend in her elbow, but it puts it way down below the crest. So she's kind of got a funny angle there.
That's what
I like her balance. Yeah, I like her balance. I like she's in the middle as far as up and down. She just needs to wrap around her horse instead of sitting on top of her horse. And there is a difference to be around your horse instead of just sitting on top, I think. And she also looks like she has my least favorite jacket on, which is the short jackets. And I think it makes the hip angle look funny. But that's, again, just my very personal thing.
So yeah, I'm thinking that to me, it looks like her seat is above the pommel of the saddle, and I'd like to see it more over the middle of the saddle.
Right, and I think it goes all down to her leg, I think.
Yeah,
she's pushing off.
And when her toes are, she's rolled onto the back of her calves, exactly what you're saying. So we kind of did the forensics on it. What are some exercises that we can do to help fix it?
Well, I go ahead, Jake.
A great lesson I learned in a clinic with Karen Healy, who is a wonderful, wonderful equitation coach from California. And that was where she would have you go through, she would set a gymnastic, and we would flip the hands over to the driving rein.
Oh, yes, this way?
Yeah, so you'd hold the reins the other way, like we used to with pony kids. And we'd go through the gymnastic, and the gymnastic was set just quiet and low to begin with, and just one stride, so everything's easy. And where you'd have the hand very wide and then not touching the neck, and you put the hand out towards the horse's mouth, and then keep that hand there all the way throughout the gymnastic. That still to this day is my favorite exercise for teaching body control, because you have to have your leg underneath you, because you're not balancing on the mane or the neck or the horse's mouth, which is what most people do. And then I remember in that clinic, she got that gymnastic pretty big and pretty wide, and then she had to do a course with it. So we were doing like a 1.15 meter, 20 equitation style technical course without being able to basically touch anything, and keeping that hand all the way out in front of you. And yeah, so that's.
Where were your hands, out here, or?
They were approximate. They were quite wide, so like so, and then towards the horse's mouth. So like the ultimate following release, but you were not even near the neck. You were a good 4 inches off of the neck, off of both sides. So the only thing holding you there is your lower leg and your body.
Which is a great exercise, but you're still in control, because you can do that on a lunge line too. But then you're not in control. You're not in charge. You're just balancing, so you don't have to make lots of decisions. But
most
obviously,
riders balance on the horse's mouth in the air. That's the number one fault I see when I do my clinics around North America. And it's very important that the rider has their own balance and not relying, not as I say, doing dental work on the horse while they're jumping.
Yeah, I call it brain flossing.
Oh, you're vicious.
Dental walk, brain flossing. We call it brain flossing when they pull back.
Yeah, floating the
Like
horse's
a backwards yeah, exactly. A
alligator.
backwards release, which is shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Girl, I think that this girl personally, if she would just learn to ride on the inside of her calf, it would fix a lot of her problems from what I can see from that photograph. And I agree 100%. She needs to be looking straight through the pony's ears. She might even be ducking a little bit to the right, but maybe not. And but she does need to look where she's going. And I think that's really important. And she's not bothering the pony's mouth. That's good. And the pony's a good jumper. You know, good for them.
I agree totally, for sure. Okay, so let me get that picture out of there. There we go. So rider position exercises you can do. Jay, you gave a couple, really good one with gymnastics. So the gymnastic would be like trot in with the cross rail, vertical, oxers, something simple, you say? You can do that exercise?
I like the trot in for this because, again, you're just completely taking the element out, and use the trot rail at 8 or 9 feet out. So then you're just completely taking away the rider from worrying about, say, finding the distance. You know, you want to put all of their focus on trying to be aware of where their body is. Once a rider is aware of what their body is doing, then the changes can come quite quickly. But if they aren't aware, say that they're ducking, or are not aware that they're looking down, or examples like that, then those changes take harder. So yes, trot in, and it just really depends on the rider. Like a typical gymnastic, I would set a simple one is, you know, an X rail, one stride to a vertical, one stride to an oxer. I mean, that's your most basic gymnastic.
Yeah.
For your beginner
textbook.
Intermediate riders. Once if you're working with more intermediate and advanced riders, more oxers. So I would do an X maybe to a bounce, and then 2 strides to an oxer, and then 1 stride to another oxer, and have those oxer distances.
So mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, have the distances a little tight. Start to get the oxers significantly wider than they are high. Like typically when we're doing, say, gymnastics and oxers, I'll have the oxers about 20 to 30 centimeters wider than they are high. And then that gets the horses really rounding around the jump, and then makes it a lot harder for the riders to stay with that jump. And then that way you don't have to jump very high to really get the feel of what a big jump is underneath you.
Exactly. And it's a great exercise. And I like to do I'm a big figure 8 person over the low wide oxer, and I like to do that. And because I think once the rider has gone through the gymnastics, has the feel, if you start to turn in the air and learn how you actually can be in charge of where your upper body goes, as long as your leg's strong enough to hold it there, or your balance is strong enough so you can keep your hip angle open and turn in the air, and anything to create a situation where you are in charge of where your body goes, so you make that happen. I like to do that.
Yeah, even before going into gymnastics and jumps, I think also there's a lot of merit into doing your 2-point, practicing your 2-point position, practicing your 2-point position over trot rails, practicing your 2-point position down the long side to develop that feel of the horse and develop the balance over top of your legs before you even go over a jump. And then once you get it at do it through a transition, even at the halt, go from halt to walk and see if you can keep your balance there.
Keep your balance.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and then
it is difficult to do, and it's good to do with the young ones. And I see this a lot when I go to teach a lesson somewhere, and I see the beginner or the new rider instructor, and they've got them in 2-point, but they're laying on the neck. So they're already teaching them the incorrect way. Of course, I have to go over there and help them, but I know
And
you
then
find that hard to believe. I know.
and
But
then develop at the over trot rail, so you're always progressing
exactly,
up.
exactly.
What about doing exercises through the gymnastic? For example, I know I've seen this done it myself with my students is maybe put your reins in one hand, put the other hand up or out or to the side or that type of thing.
And
You think
again, Randy's in the back of my head saying, make sure that you're doing this on a wonderful horse that is
yeah,
kind and sweet.
sure.
But yes, those gymnastics, to do those simple gymnastics, bounces and those things with your arms out, grids on the jumping chutes. There's all sorts of things that we can do for those things too, especially at the lower levels to keep those guys going. And then at the upper levels, like without stirrups, and so it's not so hard on the horses, but you can teach them kind of like Jay was saying about using those low, wide oxers. The rider gets the feel of a big jump, but it's not pounding on the horse's legs as much as jumping big jumps all the time. So we have to remember we all do this because we love the horses. So make sure that we keep those guys nice and sound and happy.
Excellent. So it looks like both of these riders show. So what are some ways that we can, let's talk about the warm up. How can they connect with their horse a little bit better in the warm up? Jay, what is your equation for a good warm up?
Well, for a good warm up, to me, it is about the horse in that case, because essentially you're warming up to go into the show ring and competing. So number one is the warm up ring is not the lesson ring. Definitely that is for myself and for
I love you, Jay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's you go in there, warm up, and get out. But so it is all about the horse. You want to spend 15 to 20 minutes walking before you do anything else, letting them loosen up. And the walk, it can be relaxing, but you can also be working them. You can work on some getting them to come off your leg and some flexions and just getting a feel for your horse. And then some nice forward work at the trot and then the canter. And so by the time you do that walk and warm up, you're looking at about 20, 25 minutes. And now you've warmed your horse up and now you're prepared to actually start working. So that would be the start. And I always say our rules for flatting at the horse shows is if your class is after 10 a.m., you need to do a morning hack. Because I think that, first of all, it helps most of the horses, but it also helps most of the riders, kind of get you on, get you a feel, get you going, where your horse is at that day. Do they need a little extra work? Do they need a little less work? Are they feeling peppy? Are they feeling stiff? Well, where are they at? And so the morning hacks to me are always a big deal. Essentially, just spend time with your horses. The more you practice, the better. Don't overwork them by any means. Be very conscious of their fitness and soundness, but spend the time with them and figure out what works best for that horse. Some horses need to have very little warm up. Some horses, we've had exceptional ones that only require 3 or 4 warm up jumps, and some we only trot in the warm up ring and trot a few jumps and go in and we'll go into the Grand Prix. There's some horses require more, but my advice is 6 to 9 warm up jumps. Get it done in that. If you're not getting it done in that amount of time, then something's not quite right.
Yet that doesn't seem like very many warm up jumps.
No, but that's.
You think of the. I'm thinking that maybe this pony level here that we're looking at. Do you think 9 jumps would be enough for this?
I do. When I'm working with the kids that are jumping, whether it be the pony hunters, or whether they're say doing the 90 centimeter jumpers or that sort of thing. Honestly, sometimes 4 or 5 jumps is enough. That's the warm up ring. Warm up, and when they're ready, then go.
It's not the lesson ring. You have your lesson before that or the day before.
Now, occasionally, okay, maybe someone's having trouble and or the pony's too fresh or the kid's having no trouble. And okay, and you're jumping really small like that. And if you need to catch 12 to 15 jumps or whatever, of course, that's fine. I'm talking about that just as, 6 to 9 jumps on average would be your warm up.
Yeah,
for
sure.
your average derby hunter, jumper, whatever it happens to be.
And Patty, what happens if you have a bad warm up?
You're screwed.
Then you go back to Jay's. Your 6 to 9 is gone. Like you're back to your 15, maybe.
Well, I think
Jay?
that if you're having that bad of a warm up, you might need to back up. Tell the in-gate guy you want to go later, and go do some more flat work somewhere else, or they can go back on the lunge line if that's the issue. Or if you're having a really bad warm up, you can't fix it right then. You have to fix why it's bad. I think
so maybe
the warm-up ring's not the place to do it. You might need to go to a different ring.
If that happens, maybe you should have assessed your horse prior to entering the horse show and maybe dropped down a level or gone in a schooling round or something like that beforehand.
Yeah, schooling round's always a good idea if you don't know your horse really well. I mean, and things happen sometimes. I remember one time I was walking back to my judge's booth after taking a little break, and this horse was walking into the warm-up area. A pony came flying by, ran smack into it, and that poor horse had a complete nervous breakdown. He was freaked out. So those kind of things happen. You got to back up, think about what you have. What were the words Robert used the other day? I love them. Now I can't remember them. Do you remember, Laura?
No,
assess your horse or assess this. I can't remember. Anyway, it was great though. And reassess yourself, because things do happen. But we're talking about the norm, and I think that Jay's right on. You trot a couple of jumps, canter a little vertical, canter a little bigger vertical, jump a couple oxers, go in the ring. It is not the place to train you or your horse to jump. It's just a place for you to warm up. I love the 20-minute walk or 25-minute walk. And I think for the kids, I used to have my kids do two point for half of that, just to stretch and to do and sit back down and do 2 point again. And again, moving them off your leg laterally and forward. You can do all sorts of things at the walk. A lot of times people don't think they are accomplishing anything unless they're trotting or cantering. So, but the walk is such a good way to do it. And
same with the coaches too, right? The coaches think that they're not accomplishing anything unless they are giving that lesson in the warm-up ring.
Well, I think sometimes the coaches feel like they're being paid to coach, and we get paid fairly well. And that we're supposed to have to do those things.
Right.
And the coach needs to explain that those 7,000 lessons they had prior to the horse show was getting them ready for the horse show.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they're going to get them balanced, get them ready, put them in the ring, and hope they do the best, and explain to them what they need to do to fix, or they were great, or whatever.
Okay, so I have a short video here. Would you be interested in watching that?
Sure.
Okay, let's take a look at this video. It's with the rider lovely in slow motion.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, so unfortunately the jump standards are right in the way when she's over top of the jump.
I have something to say about this one.
Okay, well, Patty, you can go right ahead.
Well, I always start at the feet, and her feet are way too far in her stirrups.
Okay, let's take a look again. Well, how about can you talk through while I show it?
If I can see it again, yeah. Okay, so she's cantering to the jump. To me, she looks a little rigid, but it's sometimes hard to tell in the and she starts to stand up and tip just a half a step too soon for me. And as you watch your lower leg, it's starting to go way in front of the girth. And then it goes way behind the girth. And then it goes way back in front of the girth. But her foot is too far in the stirrup. And she's almost like she's holding the stirrup iron with her toes. So I think if you could fix that, you'd fix a lot of things.
Like put the stirrup on the ball of her foot. Is that what you're saying?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Put the stirrup on the ball of her foot and let her keep her leg underneath her. And hug your horse with your stirrup iron.
Yeah, way in front, pivots back.
And it goes way back because it's a weak base.
She's
in the middle. She's doing some good things. She did a good release. She's in the middle. She's just, to me, is a little weak with her leg, which is causing the body issues.
The base of support.
My
You have to
humble
start
opinion.
there. Yeah. How about you, Jay?
Yes, I agree with Patty on that.
Would you like to see again and talk us through it?
It is interesting in a moment, please, to see go too far. Because usually it's the other way. Most people today ride too much on their toe. Ball of your foot. And I always say, if you're playing tennis or volleyball or soccer, whatever it is, you always want to be on the ball of your foot. Well, riding is a sport too. And, your balance is super important on the horse. And so get on the ball of your foot. It is unusual to see that today where that happens. Her back is nice. Go ahead. Let's play the video.
Okay.
Her back is nice and flat. And I like that. She's got her eye up and I like that. She's got a pretty good angle from the elbow to the hand to the mouth. That's a very good angle there. Now, if you watch the release, it's long here. And then as she's landing, the release is getting shorter. Now, in this case, the reins stayed loose enough. So then it's fine. She definitely didn't touch the horse's mouth. But ideally over a jump, especially once you start jumping bigger jumps, the release should start shorter. She should take her time here with the release in her body and then finish and follow through into landing. You'll see the release is longer here than it is before the horse's back end is touched. So now, she, that to me again goes back to what Patty was saying with the weaker base. You want to really complete the jump. Now, in this example, she did complete the jump. I feel if she was jumping a larger jump or a wider jump, then she's going to snap back and catch that horse in the mouth.
So you're thinking she opened up too early, or her hands range should be longer?
What happens there, and this is a common mistake. I know I did it for 40 years, about beating your horse off the ground. And what happens is you have to hold your body off the ground and wait for the horse to come up to you. And then you have to go with the arc of the jump.
Here.
If the body closes too early, which is a natural tendency, it's a natural instinct to do, then as the horse comes up, the motion of the horse coming up and the motion of the rider going down, then when the horse is starting to come down in the arc, the horse is going to be coming down and the rider is going to be coming back up. And physically, that's the only way for it to happen. So the more you can stay back on the takeoff to a certain degree, and then finish and follow through the arc of the fence is key to staying on and that's what we call being with the motion of the horse or being with the motion of the jump. So that's what I see here. Like I said, she just needs to just stay a little taller there, and then see there she gets out in front, and then that means now she's going to be falling back into the landing. You can see the butt slides to the back of the saddle, and she's sliding back there a little bit. So again, it starts with the base, though. What Patty was saying, as her lower leg becomes more solid, then the upper body will become that way as well. It's all connected.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say something, but it went out my head. So
okay, that's awesome. All right.
Let the horse jump up to you. Yes. That is such a key word, to let the horse jump up to you.
Exactly right.
Yeah, the language I use is just get your position and then let them come to you. Don't go to them, let them come to you. And I know for myself, I'm 6'2", and so I was a taller rider. And the hardest thing for me to do was upper body control. No question about that. I think that was the biggest weakness with my riding, was my upper body control. And the more you could just say, let him come to me. Just come here. I'm here. Come to me. I'm not going to go to you. These are now, one thing I found very challenging was when you're doing the hunters and the smaller jumps, those 3-foot hunters, they kill your upper body position. Because of course you're trying to get down to them a little bit to make them look a bit prettier. But that is definitely a challenge.
So when I first started doing this professionally was in 72.
Doing what professionally?
Teaching and doing the horses professionally.
Yeah.
72, 73. Okay. And I was in Winter Haven, Florida, where we used to have horse shows. And I got the privilege of being able to watch Ian Miller do the jumpers. And that man, he has more upper body control than anybody I've ever seen. I don't care where he leaves the ground from, he's never anywhere but the middle of the horse. And I used to send all my tall, lanky kids and boys to watch those videos. And when you said that, it made me think about it. I mean, Ian is amazing at his body control.
Yeah, I trained with Ian for 3 years. And
there you go.
Ian's also arguably, he was on one of my polls to be, as the greatest rider of all time. So
well, yes. But his upper body was like, you can do it just always, because you're tall.
Always. His upper body, you're right. I've never seen him not in perfect balance on a jump, and I've probably seen him jump 17,000 fences.
Yeah, and pretty special talent there. But a good one. And you can find that in this day and age, you can find those guys that are special kind of talents, and watch them. Go watch them. Watch how they do it. Watch how they warm up.
It's excellent.
Sorry,
so
guys,
how about some unmounted exercises? So we've got maybe like 3 minutes left. Is there things that people can do without the horse? I know, Jay, I like what you said about horseback riding is a sport and that you should be on your toes. Can you think of
ball
any?
Of your feet.
Yeah, on the ball. What did I say?
Ball of your
toes. Feet. Ball of your feet.
Is there any exercises you can think of doing while yoga. Off the horse?
Yoga. Do lots of yoga.
To stretch.
Well, yoga's a great stretch, and then just the old-fashioned standing on the step and putting the ball of your feet on the step and letting your back of your leg stretch down and drop down in your ankle, and you can kind of squat down over your knees a little bit and have a bit of a position and hold the railing if you need to, so you don't fall and kill yourself. But that does stretch. It does help. We used to have them bounce up and down, but I'm not sure if that was worth it or we just were keeping people busy.
Right.
But yeah, this was great. And your friends that sent the pictures, Laura, we appreciate her that she did that, and she does a great job. And she does a great job. And those horses those ponies jump really cute.
Aren't they nice?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah. Yeah. So we have to thank her for that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any other tips, Jay, or anything else you'd like to say?
I think we covered quite a bit. Thank you for having me on your show. And it's great to see the pictures. And certainly for those kids that, put themselves out there like that, you're doing a lot of great things and keep at it and, keep getting great instruction and keep riding those horses and enjoy.
Yeah. Now, could you tell us about your show on Monday?
Yes. Well, I'm very excited about this. My articles are coming to life in a live show. I was told to do a podcast, and I just skipped right over that step to join these ladies and do a live show. So it's going to be really fascinating. So we're doing a 30-minute show, 7:30. It's Monday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And my first guest is Guillermo Jorge, who is probably the best course designer in the world. He did the Rio Olympics, and he's a wonderful, wonderful man. In May, we have a panel of doctors coming in to discuss concussions and head safety awareness. I have Joey Gatlin and Morley Abbey from the Oaks in San Juan Capistrano. And I have Derek Braun coming in, who's running the Split Rock Tour and a Grand Prix rider as well. So I think a fantastic lineup to start us off, and
Oh, it's going to be fun.
project.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
look
We'll
forward
watch.
to it. Yeah, no, what are we doing? So here's what we are doing every Mondays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're Jumping Instructors Live. The Jay Duke shows Mondays at 7:30, and Wednesdays again we are here at 1 p.m. And I've got some people lined up as well. So we have let's just put it here. We have Patricia Wilson Jellerson. She was here making a few comments. She's going to be with us next week. And Meredith Gallagher, that's a friend of Patty's. She's going to be here. She's a trainer.
She's a trainer at Carriage Hill Farm in
Yeah.
The Boca area and in Florida, and does a great job. So we had fun with her when she came the first time.
So she's going to be here May 13th. Then we have Jenny Paisley coming, and she is the what's the name of her business? Findajudge.com. She's coming. She's going to be with us. And then we have Ann Thal, also from that we've had
Perfect.
her on. Yeah, so we've got that lineup as well to do more position corrections, or shouldn't say position corrections, that rider fixes. And if you would like to have one of your riders be on the hot seat here, we'd love to hear from you. And it's send it to let me just see, EquestriansLive@gmail.com if you want to send in your photos of some of your students, and we'd be happy to help you out.
And they don't have to be hunters and jumpers. They can be eventers or whatever. We're happy to share our opinions. We like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Laura.
So
thank you, Jay.
Thank
Randy.
You, Thank you.
Remember to watch on the Jumping Instructors Live page for these live posts. You can join right in on the show when they're live, or you can share comments while you're there, or ask questions. This was a great show today. Thank you, everybody, for joining in with us, especially our co-host, Laura, Kellen May, and Patty Downing-Nygaard, and of course, Jay Duke, our special guest. Watch for Jay's new show next week, Monday night, and he'll be doing his show, The Jay Duke Show. Next Wednesday, we'll have Laura, Kellen May back with Patty Downing-Nygaard with riding position fixes. In the meantime, stay safe. We'll see you on the other side of the fence.
Next week.
Down, eyes up.
Yeah. Go use this stuff. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.